Hey, welcome to another episode of the Philosophy Podcast. I am your host, Controversy, and to my right, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host, none other than Mr.
Darren Love.
And together, we are the Philosophy Podcast. Thank you to you guys for tuning in to another episode. Thank you for tuning in once again this week, guys. Thank you for all the love, all the support. And as we always say, if you're new here to the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, because obviously that helps our channel to grow and helps more people to see our content, etc. But yeah, without further ado, what is on the agenda for this week, mate? What is today's hot topic?
I thought we'd talk about wisdom today.
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
Okay.
What is it?
So this week, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking all about
Wisdom.
wisdom. What are your thoughts and your opinions and etc. on wisdom, mate?
Well, I think it takes time. You're not wise when you're younger, are you? Like when you're 5. It takes time to grow, doesn't it?
Well, you become wiser the older you get, really, don't you? Through experiences, through exposure to information and knowledge and etc.
Well, I've not always been wise in my life. Do you know what I mean? And you sort of learn by your mistakes, don't you?
Of course, yeah, and that's part of the mistakes. Mistakes essentially are just lessons, And once you make a mistake, if you make a mistake and you continue to repeat that mistake, then obviously that's your fault, because you haven't done any kind of reflection or any kind of, holding yourself accountable and figuring out a way to not repeat it, But yeah, I think just like you said, the older we become, it's just like obviously when you're a child, obviously you're completely dependent, you know what I mean? So the wiser you become, the more kind of independent you do become as you slowly get older, Okay, let's just use an example. Not long ago, I was still helping my son to have a shower, if you see what I mean, because he wasn't at that age yet where he could fully, wash himself, by himself, let's say, for example, But now my son has a shower by himself every single day because he's at that age now. You see what I mean?
So he's a little bit wiser.
He's through him growing up and me showering him every day and showing him how to wash himself and look after himself and make sure he's clean properly and etc. Now he's completely independent in that regard, and I can say to him, it's getting late now. You need to go and take a shower because dinner's ready or whatever. Let's say, for example, and he'll go and jump, 10-15 minutes, he'll be back. You know what I mean? Go and wash himself, and he'll be,
So he's getting a little bit wiser, isn't he?
And soon he's also getting to that age too where he might be able to start walking to school and back, to school and home again by himself, if you see what I mean, because he's through all these years of me taking him every day and teaching him about road safety and being smart about keep being vigilant when you're on the road, not getting distracted, or if you are listening to music, only have one headphone in, or whatever the case may be, so you're still aware of your surroundings and your circumstances and all these different things, so that I know that if I do allow him to if I allow him to take that next step of independence to do that by himself, obviously you worry a little bit as a parent, but you hope that all the knowledge and everything that you've instilled in them, that they replicate that and they instill that into their lives and into their routine, and that they understand what you were trying to teach them. It sinks in, if you see what I mean, as they say.
I mean, I think it's different when you've got a daughter, isn't it?
For sure, yeah.
Especially when she wants to go out on her own.
Yeah,
When she becomes a teenager and all that,
Mm.
I mean, I've got 2 boys and 1 girl, do you know what I mean? And it's a different story, isn't it? When you let a girl out, it's a bit more dangerous for a girl, I think, because they could, end up getting pregnant, and that baby goes with the woman, doesn't it, really? Not, let's put it this way, when a young couple goes out and they have sex, because they're a bit drunk or whatever, the girl normally gets lumbered with the baby. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, true, yeah.
If you know what I
But
mean.
all that comes down to, again, to his education.
It does.
You've got to teach your kids. It's like, as my son gets older, I think I'll be the one that's probably having most of the conversations with him in regards to sex and that kind of thing, and all these kind of things as he gets older, and safety in that regard too, if you see what I mean. But I think when it comes to my daughter, of course, I'll be teaching her certain things, but I think when it comes to like the actual sexual education, my wife kind of would be talking to my daughter in regards to those things, if you see what I mean, because she would probably feel a bit more comfortable talking to her, you know, than you know, because as a dad, you know, it's you're very, and mums too, but as a dad, you're, like you said, when it comes to your kids, especially your daughters, you're even more kind of protective in a way, you know, because you, like you said, there's, you know what a lot of men can be like, if you see what I mean. Through being a man, you understand, being around certain men and certain people, you understand, you know, what, you know.
There's boundaries in there.
There's certain people that are not good people, you know, and they'll take advantage of people, you know, so you have to be.
Especially young people.
Yeah, especially when they're vulnerable, you know, and kind of, you know, just started going out and just started maybe having a few drinks and just, you know, doing whatever, and, you know, you get people, you know, yeah, you've got to be careful, you know. But all it comes down to, again, is education, I think, you know, wisdom, instilling out wisdom in them that you have to be careful, be aware of your surroundings. If you have a drink, you go out and you have a drink in this day and age. If you leave your drink for whatever reason and you take your eyes off of it for 10, 15 minutes, order another drink. Don't drink it. You know, sometimes people do it by accident. They don't do it always on purpose, because I think a lot of people try to be, you know, especially when they're surrounded by a lot of people and loads of people are drinking, and people are doing, you know, some of these young people are doing drugs and shit, let's be honest. Some of these young people who go raving and, you know, they drink and they do drugs. And sometimes you get people that put things into other people's drinks and shit like this. It does happen, you know. So yeah, it's just, you know, just like sometimes people might leave their drink by accident, you know, might have to go to the bathroom quickly and think, oh shit, I left my drink, you know, but then sometimes people don't go back to the bar and drink it, you know, get a new drink, you know, get a fresh drink, you know, these kind of things, you know, just about being smart and moving with your head, keeping your head on, you know, just, yeah, it's all about just being vigilant.
I think a lot of wisdom is all to do with education, really.
Yeah.
You know, like me, like I've said previously, I don't feel like I was guided in any way, you know. I didn't have smart parents, basically, you know. I mean, my mum's today she's very wise, do you know what I mean? She's learned, but, you know, when I was a little boy, she was a very, very young mother, really, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she really didn't know what she was doing, do you know what I mean? She got married at 16, like I said.
Yeah. And
it's a bit silly, really, getting married, I think, at that age, to be honest with you, you know. You know, I don't think it ever works out, you know. It does maybe sometimes, occasionally, but not often, I don't think. Do you know what I mean? You know, I think marriage is, you know, you've got to be wise before you do that one, to be honest with you, you know. It's a big, big step.
It is, yeah.
You know, and you've got to think about what you're doing before you get married, do you know what I mean? And who you're with, I think. Do you know what I mean? You've got to think about it a long time. I think 10 years, to be honest with you, you know. That's when you leave school, you know, I think that you've got to think about it for 10 years before you actually do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Be a bit more mature by that age.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think,
you know, by 25, you should be a bit more mature at that age, do you know what I mean?
But the best advice I would give anyone in regards to marriage, yeah, is try to marry someone who's your best friend.
Well, to be honest with you, I thought my ex-wife.
And that's so important. That's what, like you said, I think, in all honesty, you should get to know each other for a few years, live with each other as well. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't live with each other before you get married. I think you should, because sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes people are together for a long time and they both live in separate places, and they, you know, they have their own, still used to having their own space, their own lives, and being able to do what they want when they're not together or outside of work or whatever. But when you're living together, it's a completely different kettle of fish. Obviously, you both have to think about you know, when you're married, you're thinking about each other. You see what I mean? You're thinking about you know your wife's happiness and etc. And she's supposed to be thinking about yours.
You know, in my circumstances, you know, I was with the girl that I married for 13 years, but it wasn't until 7 years we were living together. 7 years before we got married.
Yeah,
it still didn't work out. Do you know what I mean? You know, and I think looking back at the end of the day, we were both. I didn't really know what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? That's the truth. You know, I mean, I always sort of like respected my wife and was faithful to her. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And I tried in many ways, you know, but you still you can't win sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Living together and being married or whatever, it still doesn't work out. And I think what we did, we just rushed into it, you know, and had sex before we even, you know, on the first week together, basically. Do you know what I mean? And it's just much too quick, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's not wise, really. You know, when I look back on my life, you know, that I did make mistakes.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't regret my children. Do you know what I mean? But
I can never regret your children.
well, I kind of, you know, regret marrying a little bit. You know, but you can't. Your past is basically fixed there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever you've done or whatever's happened's there.
Yeah.
And you can't change it.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to accept whatever it is in kind of way and learn from it.
Learn from it, yeah.
You know, and get wiser from it, basically, you know.
Well, that's how you get wiser, you know. The more you fail or the more you make mistakes or whatever, the more you're, you know, the more you should be learning and evolving and growing. You know, it's just, like we said earlier, not repeating those mistakes, trying not your best not to repeat those mistakes, you know.
So, you know, you think about when you're 5, you ain't got much past to think about, or, you know, 5 years. And then when you're 10, you're looking at 10 years now. You know, you haven't been married yet, have you? Do you know what I mean? You know, you haven't experienced that one yet because you're much too young, you know, do you know what I mean? And I think, like, life's all about experiences, really, you know, and you get wiser through experiences, you know. So the more you experience in life, the more wise you'll get, you know, I think. You know, and it's not just about that. I think compassion, really, you know, like, that's, the more compassionate you are, I think, the wiser you are in life. I really believe in that one, you know. You know, the more you're sensible, the more you do the right things in life, I think, you know, that's wise, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And you always doing the right choices. Like, like, for instance, sometimes you might get tired, so it's wise to go to bed, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know? So you've got to make those choices all the time, and when you get hungry, so it's wise to get something to eat quick as possible, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and so on, you know, we're all sort of taking each day as it comes, and I think some people are wiser than others, you know, out there.
Yeah.
You know, and it is all down to the education.
Yeah.
Again, you know, they don't really educate children to be compassionate, really, I don't feel. You know, they're, you know, I remember my school, we were cutting up frogs at one point, things like that. You know, I didn't want to do it, do you know what I mean? Because I'm a compassionate person, do you know what I mean? You know, and I think like that, and also a lot of fighting going on. And I think it happens at average school.
Oh yeah,
bullying and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, of course it does, yeah.
You know, and it's not wisdom to me, you know. They don't teach wisdom, you know. They don't teach you not to fight, or teach you not to bully, or teach everybody to love each other, basically, you know. You know, if you're compassionate, you've got no hate in you. If you think about it, like, if you didn't like spiders, for instance, you hated them, and you wanted them dead, you want to tread on them all, or you're compassionate and you love them, you know. So I think like compassion is completely different to fear, in a kind of way, or hate, you know. You know, and I think like the more compassionate you are as a person, you know, be honest with sort of as I'm getting older, I'm starting to get more compassionate a little bit, you know. But we're living in a world full of, you know, like I said, they don't, I think like a lot of children are leaving school and they haven't got no compassion, or they have not been taught it.
You've got to remember too, obviously, generally, compassion is like a byproduct of kind of like of empathy.
No, empathy is ability.
And I think a lot of people are lacking empathy today. A lot of people are lacking I think people have become, because of the way the world is today, everyone's so kind of like self-indulged, if you see what I mean. And don't get me wrong, every single person is at the centre of their own universe. That's just how life works, yeah? But some people are so self-indulged and so so prideful and so egotistical that they think the whole world revolves around them, if you see what I mean. And they find it very hard to be able to relate to other people's suffering or other people's struggle, or when catastrophic things happen, they find it hard to feel empathy or kind of like you said, compassionate towards those people who have lost their lives or lost their homes, lost their whole everything they've ever known and everything they've ever had, or like they find it hard to, if you see what I mean, to relate or to feel empathy or compassion. So.
I googled empathy, and it's actually an ability. It's something they have to learn.
Yeah.
It's not like you know it.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of understand it. Do you know what I mean? Because of the life I've had.
But I think some people are just naturally empathetic, though. Some people are able to feel other people's pain. If you see what I mean. If they sit down and have a conversation with someone or someone they don't even know, and someone who's had a very hard life or rough life, and that person starts to tell them about all their experiences, all their struggles, all their pain, all their tribulations, by the time that conversation ends, that other person might be able to sit there and be able to feel really compassionate and really empathetic towards that person, because what they've just heard, and they might be quite shocked or quite taken aback or in disbelief, because it might be quite disturbing or quite graphic or quite traumatic, or so they're able to relate, if you see what I mean. They're able to.
Well, a lot of people don't want to know that, don't you?
But that's the thing. A lot of people know, and not only that, but you get a lot of people that pretend like they want to know, but it's very surface level. They basically can't wait for you to stop talking.
Well, they want to have a good day.
I see it every day at work. Like, I don't get too involved in like the politics and shit at work. I'm the type of person that I believe in going to work, making sure I'm there on time, doing my job to the best of my ability, and going home, clocking out and going home. I don't get too involved. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm always polite, respectful. I'll speak when I'm spoken to. I'm always polite and etc. But I kind of just focus on doing my job and going home, kind of thing. But I see on a daily basis, sometimes other women in the office would be talking to other women or whatever the case may be, and you can see it's very false. It's very like, they're like telling them about, what their troubles or whatever they're going through at the time or whatever, and the other person's listening. You can tell that they're paying attention and just, listening, whatever, but they kind of can't wait to switch topic back to themselves, kind of thing, If you get what I'm trying to say, they're not really interested. It's just that thing of, I'm listening, and oh, I hope you'll be all right, and oh yeah, by the way, let's change topic. If you see what I mean, so you also get a lot. I realise about that a lot. Not obviously you can't tar everyone with the same brush, as we always say, but I do realise that a lot of people in the UK are kind of like that to a degree. A lot of people they're very like. No, I don't want to say fake, but like kind of like they'll smile in each other's faces and be really like fake, like very false and pretense, and like they like each other and they've got a good relationship, but behind their back, as soon as that person's gone, they're talking shit about them. If you see what I mean, but they won't ever say it to their face, if you see what I mean, or tell them what they really think or how they really feel. But
I don't think. I mean, I think there's a lot of people like that, but not everyone's like that.
Not everyone, but you get. I have noticed it. I've noticed it a lot more since, like in the Caribbean, you don't really get that. If you see what I mean, growing up, people are kind of quite. People kind of tell you what they think, kind of thing. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that like in a bad light. Sometimes people, sometimes you'll get someone who might say it in an aggressive manner. But you also get the person who will tell you what they think, but not in a, they'll be like, mate, like, don't take this wrong way, but X, Y, Z, like,
So I'm glad that I haven't got that anymore, sort of putting up with people at work around me, I don't.
I stay out of the way, mate. I stay out of the politics.
I keep myself to myself every day, do you know what I mean? That's how I enjoy life. I mean, I've worked with people, I've worked in factories where you got to clock in and all that.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't learn anything then, do you know what I mean?
Just doing a job.
It's like a factory, just like a robot, do you know what I mean? And, when you go home, you just sort of go to bed, and then you
wake up and do the same thing again.
It just feels like
Groundhog Day.
Well, it feels like your life. Do you know what I mean? It's like a sentence.
Yeah.
Like a prison sentence.
And you got to do your best to try and enjoy it.
Yeah. But like doing all these little jobs, I've learned a lot. Not to do them again. Or you just learn every year, don't you? As you get older, you do get wiser,
Yeah.
I mean, that's one good thing I would say about getting older, is you do get wiser. But as some people start losing their memories, so do you get wiser, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, what is wisdom? Do you know what I mean? You know, like...
For me, wisdom is just a combination of things. It's life experience.
It's not knowing, is it?
But it's also exposure to information and knowledge. You can also gain a lot from education and self-education. You know, depending on what you're choosing to intentionally educate yourself about, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, like for instance, maths. You studied that. So you say you studied that sort of every day for 5 years. You know, would that be wise to, you know, spend 5 years on maths?
Well, I guess if you were trying to be like a astrophysicist or someone who does engineering or working on like designing aircrafts or rocket ships or, you know, rocket science and all this type of shit, then maybe. But for the average person, no, you know, there's only so much in math. For the average person, in life, there's so much. Okay, let's use algebra. So, for example,
What's that?
A topic in mathematics, something called algebra.
What's that?